Hi guys, this is Tim from SchooshMusic here, and today I'm bringing you a tutorial requested by FallenOne676, which was for the lead synth from its Gone By concept versus Tryon. Just in case you haven't heard this song before, I've done a little remake which includes the synth I requested.
Who they are is gone.
So it's this synth here, and this is how it sounds. And as you've just seen there, this is made with Native Instruments Massive, which I use for all my tutorials just because everyone has it and it's very versatile. So add a new addition of that and set it to a new sound. And before we work on the patch, we're just going to add a note to the piano roll. So go into your piano roll and input a note in the A just below C6, A5, and it's this note here. Now you notice that sounds a semitone lower than the note that was in the other thing, which was this. But what we're going to do is use some envelopes to change the pitch, which you might not understand now, but I'll talk you through it in a while. So rename this patch. I'll just call it It's Gone Lead. And then assign it to its own mixer track by, in the channel settings bit, going on the drop down arrow, then choosing assign free mixer track. And by renaming it first, we get the name in here, so we don't have to rename that as well. So go into FX slot 8 and choose a delay plugin of your choice. I'm just going to use Fruit Delay 2. And then in this, you want the time to be set to 3, which is the default for this particular plugin. And then just turn up either the feedback volume or the dry volume. I'm going to turn up the dry volume there. And then you get a nice little delay. Now we'll start out the patch. So go into it, turn on all 3 oscillators in the modulation oscillator. Assign oscillators 1 and 2 to filter 1, oscillator 3 to filter 2. Then leave oscillator 1 as square saw 1, but bring the wavetable position down to about 1 o'clock. And then leave intensity and amp at full. Oscillator 2, we want to make it a smooth square, and we're going to leave wavetable and intensity at full, but bring amp down to about 2 o'clock. And then oscillator 3, we're going to make a classic, and we'll leave everything at full with that one. Now, just before I show you how it sounds, we need to turn up the filter out of filter 2, and then bring the mix to the middle, so we can hear all the oscillators evenly. If we didn't do that, then nothing would come out of filter 2, so we just do the first 2. So it's not really sounding anything like it yet, but a way we can get there is by bringing the pitch of oscillator 1 up 0.05, bringing the pitch of oscillator 2 down 0.05, and now it should have a much fatter sound. So that's getting in the direction we want it to be. Just to give it a bit more harshness, we're going to assign ring mod to oscillator 1, bring it down to about 11 o'clock, and then assign phase to oscillator 1, but just bring it to the bottom, and we'll sort that out later. Now in your filters, choose a low pass 4 for filter 1, DAF for filter 2, bring the cutoff of filter 1 up to about just above 3 o'clock, and leave the resonance, in fact no, bring the resonance down to just above the bottom. Filter 2, bring the cutoff to just above 9 o'clock again, and bring the resonance down to about 9 o'clock. Sorry, that's just above 3 o'clock for the cutoff of filter 2. So you've got a bit more of a higher end there, but what we want to do now is make the sound a lot wider and bigger. So we'll add some effects, we'll have a dimension expander and a chorus. We'll do the dimension expander first, so bring the dry wet down to about 10, bring the size down to about 11. Then for FX2, bring the dry wet up to about 2 o'clock, bring the rate up to the same, and then just turn up offset and depth slightly. So now I've got a bigger sound, and if you want you could bring the depth down, but the sound we want is to have it up, so it's a lot more. We want a varying pitch and it to just sound a bit nastier. Although it won't sound like that yet, but it will once we add everything else. Anyway, just turn on your EQ and bring up the boost to about 2 o'clock. That just brings out the mid frequencies. Now the most important bit of this patch. First we'll just set it to monophonic, but the most important bit is bringing the unisono up to 4 in your voicing tab, then turning on pitch cutoff and bringing it all the way up to just below the middle, about there. Now that sounds horrible like that because we're maxing out the master volume, so just bring it down until you're not getting any reds, and already this is sounding miles closer to what we want. One more thing you can do is turn on the pan position and have it either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. That just enhances the stereo a bit. Now go into your oscillator tab and choose restart via gate, and then drag these to whatever you want, but this is how I have it. But if you just experiment with this, you can get some different sounds. Now you might notice it's popping a bit at the start, and it's got a bit too much of a hit. So if you go into 4 envelope and turn up the attack, now this envelope does the volume if you didn't already know. If you just bring it up to just below 9, then you shouldn't have as much as a hit at the start. Now, as I've already said, the pitch is wrong at the moment. And the way we're going to sort that out is by going into envelope 3, bringing the level up here, bringing the attack up to about 9 o'clock, and then we're going to assign this to the pitch of all the oscillators, including the modulation oscillator, and then just bring that up 1 on every one, like this. And now you notice it's the right pitch. And the reason we've done that is just to give it a bit more variation in its pitch. If I turn the attack up, you'll hear it more. You'll hear it just gliding up to the note we want. But if you have it here, then it's not obvious, but it just gives us more of the sound we want. And that's pretty much it for the patch. If you want to leave it like that, then you can for whatever you're using it for. But if we want to really recreate it, then it'll need to sound a bit more distorted. So to do that, turn on your inserts, choose Parabolic Shaper for insert 1 and Bit Crusher for insert 2. Bring the dry wet of insert 1 to about 2 and the drive all the way to full. And then for insert 2, bring the dry wet down to about 10 o'clock and the crush to the same. Now insert 2 will only work on filter 2 at the moment because of the way the synth's routed. So if you go into your routing panel and then click here, then insert 2 will come into play after both the filters. So that's slightly more distorted, but we could add some more in the effects. So go into your effects, choose Maximus, and then just leave that as the default, because the default settings are just right for most things. It brings out the frequencies you want most of the time. Although at the moment we've got a bit too high, so we'll add a parametric EQ. We'll shelf out some of the high frequencies. And you might notice we've got a little bit of low, feedback. So add a high pass on band 1, just by right clicking, type high pass, and then do the same with order, but choose steep 8. Bring it up to about C3 and C4, 200 Hz. Maybe a bit less if you wanted. About there. And then just bring down this 4 around 500, 600 Hz there. And then you could have less of a bump here. So just get it looking something like that. As long as it's close. Bleh. As long as it's close, it should be sounding right. Then add a duet, which is a stereo enhancing plugin. You could use an alternative if you wanted, but I choose this, and then have that set to 3 o'clock. And it just sounds a bit wider. You don't have to do that, but that's what I've done. Then, to get this distortion, just add a distortion effect of your choice. You could choose corrosive, that's a good free one, or you could use homicide, which is one of the best effect plugins out there. Now for this, you want to right click on band 2, the type here, and choose none. So we're only using the band 1's porridge. setting. And that's just what we want, so we don't need to change anything further from that. And we could just bring down the amount that's outputted out of this if we wanted to. But if you want, you can have max distortion. I mean, just tailor it to what you want. And there we go, that is it. But what you'll notice is when I played it, each second and fourth hit sounded a bit different. It had a slightly different timbre, just like this. So to recreate that R sound, it sounds a bit filtered. What we're going to do is add a parametric EQ, and we're going to make an R type filter with this. Now I've got a preset here, and it's like that. Now to make this, I'll try and make something similar here. Just disable your your top 3 bands, then bring these all across in frequency to about there. Then for band 1, right click, choose type, choose high pass. Then for band 4, type low pass. Bring the bandwidth down to about 9 o'clock on type 4, or on band 4. Then bring the bandwidth on band 1 all the way to just above the bottom, like that. For band 2, bring the level up to about 9 decibels, and then bring the bandwidth all the way to the bottom. And then for band 3, bring it down to about -12, and then have the bandwidth just a bit below default. Now we're going to bring this all up, so it's about there, about there, and with that, it should sound like this. Now, if you can make something that looks similar to this and then just mess around with the frequencies, then you should get something similar to the sound you want. I mean, when you change this, it does make quite a bit of a difference. So I'll just go through the ones I had. So for band 1, we've got 737 Hz. Band 2, we've got 1088 Hz. Band 3, we've got 1462 Hz. And band 4, we've got 4596 Hz. So that is what you want to make your parametric EQ look like. And then from that, you want to duplicate this. So go to the drop down and drag save preset as underneath it, which then duplicates it. And for this, just bring the frequency of everything up, something like that. Then bring the bandwidth up of 1 and 4, so it's about that level. Bring the level of 2 and 3 down, like that. And in fact, you could just have it slightly higher, something like that. And then bring the percentage down just to about 3 o'clock. And that's how it now sounds. One last effect you could add in is a VPS filter. Now this is optional, and I'll just do this quickly because I know a lot of you won't have this. But choose notch, and then 98.6 on the slope. Have it looking like that. Choose link, bring it up to about there. Turn the resonances up to about 50%, and then this is kind of like a talkbox filter, but we don't want too much, so just bring the percentage all the way down to 9 o'clock. You could probably make something like that in the parametric EQ as well, to be honest, but that's not a necessity, it's just adds a bit more to it. So that is how our R sounding filtered second one is going to end up sounding. There is one more thing we could do in the patch. Remember, I left the phase at the bottom. Well, if we clear macro 1 and then assign it to phase, bring it up to about 9 o'clock, then do the same with the cutoff of the DAF filter and bring it up to about 12 o'clock. When we turn that up now, it just sounds a bit more like the sound we want for the second hit. So what we need to do now is automate all of these things so they're off for the first one and on for the second bit. So I'll just delete all the stuff we've already got here. and then open up Massive, go to the drop down arrow, choose Browse Parameters, then right click on Macro 1, choose Create Automation Clip, and then we'll just cut this down to the length we want, and then we want it to be off for this bit and on for the second bit, so we'll just right click and draw that in, and then click on this, click anywhere, and you can duplicate it and put it there. So now that's going to automate the Macro 1 in Massive, but we still need to automate these on and off. So instead of creating more automation clips, we can link it to this one. So I'll go into Mute Solo here, choose Link to Controller, choose from your internal controller drop down thing, it's gone lead Macro 1, or whatever you've called it, and then Macro 1. You might have to uncheck this remove conflicts box and then click accept. Do the same with your other two or other one. And then personally I think it sounds better without the homicide on the second one, you know, the filtered one. So we don't have to create another one for this either, even though we want it to do the opposite, so we want it to be on for the first bit and off for the second bit. So we'll still do the same, we'll right click, choose Link to Controller, and then choose Macro 1. But instead of just clicking accept, we're going to go into the mapping formula drop down, and if you choose inverted, now it'll do the opposite of what this comes up as. So it'll be off when it's on and on when it's off. Click accept, and now these all should be automated with the thing, so we'll just have a check of that. In fact, I need to swap this for the other one, because otherwise we'll have the old patch playing out.
Who they are is gone.
So that's how you link things to one automation clip. And one thing about that was it was really loud for the first hit and really quiet for the second bit because it's filtered. So one way you can combat that is to add a compressor or a limiter, but I'd have to send that to Ascend now because I've run out of FX slots. But another way to do it is to just automate the mix track volume. So I'll just add an automation clip, and you could have it starting a bit quieter, so 70% maybe, 71 there, and then have it coming up to say about 97. That's 71 and then 97, and then duplicate that.
Who they are is gone.
You could just bring that a bit higher and a bit quieter. And there's only one more thing that you can do really, and that's to automate this band here on your first parametric EQ. So if you just go to the level and create an automation clip for that, and you won't want to make too much of a difference, just have it like a bit lower, like 47, and then bring it up to something like 60. 63 would do. Duplicate that, and this would be the final version.
Who they are is gone.
And that's it. Thanks to FallenOne676 for requesting the tutorial. If any of you guys want a tutorial, then just send me an inbox and I'll try my best to get something done. And yeah, if this has been helpful, please leave a like or subscribe, it is helpful. And yeah, thanks for watching.